Jacob and his family, the Joseph story, part 2. When Joseph is sold into slavery, he is given into the house of Potiphar. At first, he becomes chief cook. Literally, this is what one might call a financial officer or comptroller. He's sort of the CFO, chief financial officer. Some have seen a similarity here to the Egyptian tale of two brothers. In this tale, two brothers, Anubis and Bata, Anubis's wife tries to seduce Bata, who rejected her. The wife, afraid of the husband's reaction, slanders Bata, who flees. But Bata eventually convinces Anubis, who then kills his wife and throws her in the river. This story is not the source of Joseph's story, but it may have influenced the literary form. Because Joseph is now in prison, he becomes useful to those others who are also put in prison. So Joseph's own dreams here are immediately intelligible, but the dreams of the butler and the baker need interpretation. Finally, Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dreams and becomes very powerful. And the section ends with Joseph and his brothers first again being in conflict, but finally that conflict being resolved. And ironically, it begins as Joseph is actually superior to his brothers, and his brothers bow to him, fulfilling his former dream. And yet later that is resolved to a better end. And the brothers show themselves reformed characters. And here note especially the actions of Judah, who offers himself to Joseph in place of Benjamin, who is the favorite son of Jacob. So Judah has gone from rivalry to the children of Rachel in sending Joseph into slavery, and here is protecting a child of Rachel. And so he has sort of given up that jealousy and that rivalry. And the whole section ends with the theme of you meant evil, but God meant good. And we see here some of the relevant passages. Reuben is a reformed character, and he answers to them, the brothers, did I not tell you not to wrong the boy, but you would not listen? So now there comes a reckoning for his blood. And Judah offers himself as surety for Benjamin. He says, send the boy with me, and let us be on our way, so that we may live and not die, you and we and also our little ones. I myself will be surety for him. You can hold me accountable for him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. And in chapter 44, in front of Joseph, he says, for your servant became surety for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I will bear the blame in the sight of my father all my life. Now therefore, please let your servant remain as a slave to my lord in place of the boy, and let the boy go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I fear to see the suffering that would come upon my father. And then a final reconciliation. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come closer to me. And they came closer, and he said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. So what began as rivalry, as conflict, as jealousy, as the willingness to kill, as the selling into slavery, by the work of God eventually results in reconciliation, in forgiveness, and in the continued life of the family. So getting back to our original themes of blessing and land and offspring, there were numerous threats to that throughout all of Genesis, but here the work of God has been to preserve the line, of Abraham, even despite very negative consequences. Somehow God's power is such that human actions, while destructive, cannot ultimately thwart the actions of God. Genesis ends with Jacob's blessing over the sons and over the tribes. To Reuben it is said, "You shall no longer excel." Now Reuben is the firstborn, so what's going on here? One of the episodes that I have not discussed is the fact that Reuben basically tries to dethrone his father and sleeps with his father's wife. And therefore, he is sort of taken out of the line of being the firstborn. To Simeon and Levi, it is said they will be scattered and divided. And it is interesting that in the later books, Levi becomes the tribe that serves the tabernacle and later the temple, and it is scattered in cities throughout the land. Of Judah it is said, "The scepter shall not depart from Judah." Zebulun will live by the sea. Issachar becomes a slave. Dan becomes a judge. Dan is related to the word to judge. Gad is either raided or a raider. Asher, the provider of food. Naphtali, a doe let loose. Joseph, divided into the sub-tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, received the strongest blessings. It is interesting that they are later the major tribes in northern Israel. Benjamin is said to be a ravenous wolf. And this ends as all these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father said to them when he blessed them, blessing each one of them with a suitable blessing.